One more time. We got on here a little early today. So what I want to do is I just want to put the number in. If somebody wanted to call in, somebody has some questions or some comments, you can call in live and leave us a message. So I came on a little early to make sure the YouTube was working properly, make sure we got everything that we needed. So today's show, we're gonna get it kicked off at 6 o'clock, but we got in just a little bit early. So I can get everything squared away. So yeah, just give us a second and we'll wait on people to come in. So hope the New Year's and the holidays did everybody well. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I hope everybody was healthy. I got a couple of friends of mine who came down with the COVID, of course. So that wasn't a good piece. So we were calling and checking in on them. One of them actually has a newborn. So that was really, really different on that front to have a newborn baby and have COVID running in the house, and then you got to deal with that situation. So, yeah, that was a lot. Um, yeah, so I hope everybody is healthy as possible. If you do, we had some people. I just went and saw very some good friends of the family in town, and they got some people in the hospital. Wasn't due to COVID, but it was some serious health situations, and so we sat down and had a little dinner and tried to talk to them and just let them vent and relax and do what they do. But it's a lot out here, y'all, with that health situation. We need to make sure that the things that we could touch, those things usually aren't real. Like those material items, if it's a car or a house or some clothes or some jewelry, that's not real. I raised my daughters on the intangibles. The things that you can't touch are the things that are real. So we talking about love, communication, integrity. We talking about ethics, moral compasses. We talking about values. We talking about hard work ethic. We talking about passion. We talking about perseverance, hard work ethics. So those are the things that we want to focus on. So I think we're finna get ready to go ahead and kick it off. So we right about close to 6 o'clock. So I go ahead and get it started. And then when the people come in, they'll come in. But if you're on YouTube and you're there, just give us a wave or give us a hey, let us know you're there. Tonight's show is going to be on communication. Tonight we're going to talk about communication. Communication is a staple in our relationships. So this is one that you could write an entire book. You can write several library volumes just on communication with men and women. So we definitely want to focus on that because communication is usually lost in translation. So tonight's show is on communication, and of course, it's about our relationships with men and women. So we want to go back to pretty much where it all starts. A lot of times we don't look at this in our relationships. We look at the things that we're dealing with today. Currently, we're looking at the things that impact us in our day-to-day lives. But what we don't look at is where these things come from. They originate from somewhere. There's a core to some of these problems. So we want to look into, we're doing the mental health piece. We're doing it with the sheriff's department. This is where we are. So, I talk to my mental health professionals, my life coaches, my counselors, my psychiatrists, all these different people that deal with that mental health piece. So we want to try to get into our ladies, our young ladies, our girls. When our girls are being raised, they usually have Barbie dolls. Okay, they usually have dolls. They have tea parties. They have the different easy bake ovens. They have all these different things that they have when they're playing with their toys. All the different type of dolls. It might be a rag doll, or some of them could be just a different variety depending on what era she grew up in. But when I was coming up, it was just different dolls, and they had their tea and crumpet parties and things like that. So they were being socialized, getting prepared for relationships. So when they're preparing for relationships, what was a staple when I was coming up? And we're going to use this as a foundation to stand on for this evening to talk about communication. We're going to talk about the Barbie doll. When the Barbie dolls were out, of course, the young ladies, they played with different tea sets. They had the easy bake ovens. They had the Barbie doll. But of course, when we talking about relationships, Barbie had Ken. So when Barbie had Ken, Ken did everything that Barbie wanted to do. Barbie had a dream house. Barbie had an RV. Barbie had a Corvette. Barbie had different jobs. Barbie took trips. And Ken always accompanied Barbie. But the only problem that we have with that is our young ladies, our girls, they had unbridled, uninterrupted thoughts of these scenarios that they played out in their heads. So sometimes Ken may not have wanted to do some of these things, and that's okay. So the reason we talking about this tonight, because we want to unpack the side that Ken may have played in this, because now it's real. Now it's no longer a scenario. Now it's no longer playing house. Now you have two people with two different backgrounds and two different scenarios that have two different perspectives. So now we're going to talk about our boys. When we were coming up, we had things like the Tonka truck. There was a dump truck where you could lift the back up and it would dump things out. We had race cars. We had race tracks. We played with Army men. We played with sports figures. We had the little electronic games where the football little guys, vibrate on top of the football field. So we were being prepared for duties and tasks. We were being prepared for jobs. There was no female or girl involved in our upbringing with the way that we were being socialized to when we were growing up. So the young lady or the girls, they were being socialized to grow up for relationships. They were being socialized for social situations. So we get this this mindset that maybe girls are smarter than the boys because the girls have been inundated. They have been socialized to be prepared for relationships. And then the young men or the boys, have been socialized to prepare themselves for duties and tasks. So when we engage in our relationships today, the young men had also unbridled, uninterrupted thoughts about what they thought life was or the situation and scenarios was with the toys that they were playing with, whether it be the Tonka toy, the Army men, or the little sports figures. So now what we want to look at is we want to go into our current day reality for most of our children today. What are our children doing today? How are they being socialized? What is going to be preparing them for their relationships when they become adults? Today, we have the computer. Our children are online. They have a hypothetical virtual situation in which they're engaging online, whether it be a game, whether it be hypothetical situations on reality TV. These things are real to them, but they're not real in the real world because they have a cut and they have a lifespan. It's not actually reality, but they call it reality TV, or they'll call it a skit, or they'll call it a podcast. Whatever people are trying to do online, this is the new digital age, and this is the things that we're using to call reality. But there is not as much reality in it because you get to edit, and there are no edits, and there's no cut in life. So when we have our children with these hypothetical virtual situations, these are not problems. These are just situations and circumstances that we need to look at. We need to take a careful look and approach to them. We don't need to ostracize it. There's many different ways to analyze and approach these situations, but we're going to use it in its general context today, just the way it's just presented to us. So we want to come up with some tools and some resources so that we can try to deal with these problems as in relationships, as husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, fiancés, spouses, grandparents, parents, cousins, aunties, uncles, and the like. So when we have our young people going through these situations and circumstances, the perception is that men and women in general, okay, coming from our childhood, after we've been socialized, we're usually saying the same thing in general. Usually in general, we're saying the same thing. But perception creates your reality. So because the perception for the young ladies was relationships, that creates their reality. Because the perception for the little boys was duties and tasks, that creates his reality. So because we're usually saying the same thing, now we get into the specific because in general, it's the same. But at the end of the day, we are specifically saying something different because the perception creates our reality. So when we say the male and the female, that we're saying the same things, most of us view life from how we've been socialized. So when we've been socialized, we see things from that perspective. So that doesn't make it right or wrong. That makes it a perspective that creates a reality and a narrative for the individual. So your social, religious, economic, moral, spiritual background is going to dictate how you see a situation and circumstances in your relationship. So that's when they come up with that title, when they say you need to be evenly yoked. So you want to be as evenly yoked as possible, but it's going to be different and it's going to be almost a difficult task because that masculine, feminine, that male and female, those differences are going to be the yin and the yang. That's going to be the hot to the cold, the high to the low, the good to the bad, the black to the white. So when you have those differences, like we have our young men and our young ladies, our men and our women, that communication is lost in translation. We want to discuss these communication techniques because we have the forums, we have the men's meetings. We talk to a lot of ladies on the phone. I do a lot of phone consults. So communication is usually where we lose the translation. Okay. It's how you view it from your perception. It's how you view it from your socialization. It's how you view it from your social economic background. So when these things come into play, in general, we're saying the same thing. A lot of times you probably heard somebody debating or arguing and you heard them saying the same thing, but there are some differences that are very specific that keep them from understanding one another. So I deal with people in marriage. Okay. I wish that I could have the entrepreneurs and the different professionals and the married couples that I deal with that could come online. Okay, so because I'm old school, I'm an older, gentleman. So when I talk to my elders and I'm walking them through the situations and the processes that they're going through, we get a lot of resolution. Okay, but they're not going to come online and discuss their personal, intimate, close business on this podcast. So this is where my problem comes in. I have a lot of success. I have a lot of strives. I have a lot of things that I can show you. I have 10 years plus of research. I talk to a variety of different professionals to try to get this information so that we can get it to you. And it all stems from my barbershop, the hair salon information that we had over the last 30 years. So this is the problem that I'm having today is I have this information. I'm coming and bringing it to you, but you can't really understand it because most people need to see it. They need to touch and taste it. They need to interact with it. And because I can't bring that to you, because a lot of the people I deal with are professionals, because they have a lifestyle and they don't want the intimate, close to the cuff information put out on a podcast. So I wanted to put this out here. We want to talk about communication. I wanted to talk about the different couples that I get the opportunity to deal with. I want to talk about the single individuals who I've gotten together. I want to talk about some of the people who really like the information, and it has nothing to do with this show because this is the advertisement marketing piece. What I actually do is not televised. It's not for everybody to see. It's not for everybody to touch, taste, and feel. But that's my problem. So I have to continue to post. So I think we are at about 123 videos right now. So we're going to continue to post these things. We will not stop. Or we're going to continue with our platforms. And we want y'all to take this. We want you to test this. And we want you to try this. Take it to the barbershop or take it to the hair salon. Take it to your job or take it to your church. Remember, you don't have to like it, believe it, or understand it. Sometimes you just have to respect it. This is the Clipper Dome Chronicles. Thank you.